What is up, guys? I'm Modell. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a product review. You're going to want to stay tuned for this one. So what are we going to be looking at today? A toolbox heater from HCALORY. Not just any type of toolbox heater. Diesel. I haven't heard of these before either. Let's check it out. So before we get into the box, you might be asking yourself, what exactly is a toolbox heater? Well, it looks like a toolbox, but it's actually a self-contained diesel heater. Fuel tank, pump, controls, they're all built in. You just add diesel, plug it in, and let it pump out warm air into whether you like to go camping, you got a cold garage or a shed. It should be pretty convenient. So looking at the unit, first things first, it has a 6 liter tank built into the box. Of course, you can access the side of the box by releasing the latches. Inside we have a remote, of course the heating unit itself, the fuel line pump, everything you need to get the unit to work. Everything should work out of the box without having to get anything extra. The casing, the shell on the unit is a hard plastic. On the side, of course, we have our operating unit. Not only is there an app to utilize this, it also has onboard controls to be able to operate the system. I really like that. I hate everything having to have an app these days. When something has an app in it, really grinds my gears. You have your air outlet, which is where the warm air should be coming out of. Of course, you have your power supply and an air intake. On the back, you got a really high-speed sticker that says Toolbox. On the opposite end, you have your exhaust. Like I said, this is a diesel heater, so there is the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning if you don't properly account for the exhaust system. Of course, we'll get into all that as I show you guys how to use this. And of course, you have your air outlet and your air inlet. So assembly is super simple. Inside the box, of course, comes with hardware that you need. We're going to start with the hose clamps. You get your 4-inch aluminum tube. Slide the clamp over one side. Slide the clamp over the inlet. You're going to get your second hose clamp, put it on the other end. You're going to get your shield, put it over there. And of course, you're going to want to tighten both sides. Your particle filter actually goes into the top of the tank right over here. If you are going to use this particle filter, the only thing I recommend is just make sure you're pouring slow so you're not making a mess on top of your unit. The next thing we're going to install is going to be the muffler. Now, if you look carefully on the bottom, there's a hole on one side. However you assemble this, you want to make sure that hole is pointed down. That'll just make sure and help condensation doesn't build up. But the muffler goes onto your piping, hose clamp, second hose clamp. Should slide right over. It is a bit of a tight fit over the exhaust tube. Of course, that makes sense. You really don't want exhaust leaking out. Tighten your hose clamp. Moving you to the other side, you have another 2 clamps. You're going to use that for your filter. And then the other end, intake, and tighten. And the last bit you're going to need, well, not last because we need to put fuel in it still. It's going to be the power supply. There are 2 different ways to do the power supply. One is directly into a AC/DC wall receptacle, or you can go straight to DC and hook it up to a battery, obviously more for overlanding. So this cable will actually replace this box. This will plug directly in. Granted, I'm using this as a garage heater, so we're going to be going with this. It plugs right into here. So here I'm trying to utilize the display to get the system to work. Unfortunately, it was not very intuitive. What do I mean by intuitive? Well, intuitive means it's easy to pick up, use, without reading an instruction booklet. I got it to start blowing out cold air. It was reading A's followed by numbers and P's followed by numbers. was not heating up. Now, the reason I believe this was an issue, again, tying back into the lack of innovative design of the screen, the instructions didn't really explain clearly either on how to get this into heating mode. Got the exhaust pointing out the bottom of the garage, pushing out air on this side. So right now, it's 67 degrees. So here's where I finally get it to work. After about 30 minutes of blowing out cold air, I shut it off, came back to it the next day, and decided to start trying to troubleshoot. I utilized this remote by turning it on, and it worked. It kicked it into heating mode. After about 5 minutes, I started getting nice hot air out of the outlet of the unit. I don't know why, it just kept blowing out cold air, but when I used the remote to turn it on, it primed the pump, and of course, you could see and hear it. I'll go ahead and insert a clip here. You can see the diesel going through the fuel line. Giving it about 5 minutes, it got pretty warm. Let's go see how warm it got. I want to apologize for my garage being an absolute mess. We're in the process of trying to build up our brick wall along our perimeter. It's been a work in progress trying to get these videos and things done around the house, but that's why my garage is a little messy. I'm probably about 6 feet away from the unit. I feel the heat on my legs. It feels pretty nice. The temperature, so it's 150 inside the pipe. As you can imagine, that gets pretty warm. The exhaust, 90, huh? There we go, 200. It's actually burning my foot. That's uncomfortable. Whoa. Okay, there we go, 120. As far as volume, I wouldn't say that's too low. I could definitely sleep with this in the background if I had to. So just to kind of discuss some of the things that were a little frustrating. The pad, the display pad, like I said, I was having difficulties getting it to work through this. I would turn it all the way to high, and it would just be pumping out cold air. The pump wasn't kicking on. The instruction booklet was pretty straightforward. It said it just hit the arrow buttons, go up and down for manual mode or constant heat. I wasn't getting any heat. It wasn't until I used the remote to start it, it kicked on, and of course it's pretty nice. What I do see beneficial for this is definitely for heating up the garage. However, in its current state, just kind of sitting like spaghetti, probably not the best way of having everything situated. Of course, you got to be thinking of carbon monoxide poisoning, so the exhaust has to be routed outside of the house. Just kind of check the temperature of the box. 74, 65, 73, 78. It's not until we get to the outlet, it's when the heat starts kicking up. This was the only way I got it to work. I'm going to turn it off. And of course, the way this works, it is off. But like a welder and plasma cutter, leave it plugged in as it goes through the full shut off, because it has to cool off things inside. Don't just unplug it either from the power source, from the box itself. Let it turn off. Once this is off, we're going to try turning it back on from the unit itself and see if we can get some hot air out of it. All right, so it's been off for a minute, down to 75. It's cooled off dramatically. Let's see if we can get it to work off of this guy. So yeah, it's the right screen. I don't know what was going on. Anyways, it's on. Let it kind of cook for a minute, and I'll check right back in with you guys. It must have had to been in a different mode, because when I was first doing it, it was a P and not HH. But of course, the numbers would go up and down, and also it was showing the cold in, red out, but this temperature gauge wasn't there either. You can hear the fuel pump clicking. Of course, you saw the white smoke kicking out. The fan motor is starting to get faster. diesel getting pumped. Blower's getting faster. Air's getting warm. Definitely not hot. Went up 10 degrees. Getting hot exhaust fumes. So there it is. I don't know what it was with the remote that put it into a different mode, I guess. I was reading the instructions and I was trying to put it into manual mode, and they said just to hit the power button, hold the power button, then use the arrows up and down to adjust the heat. And of course it wasn't quite working, but after using the remote, it started working. It's cooking and working as advertised now. So guys, let's go ahead and start wrapping up this video. This toolbox heater is exactly what it sounds like. It's a heater inside of what is essentially a toolbox. You put diesel in, it kicks out solid warm heat. It's compact, it's self-contained, there's no tedious install, and of course I'm all for the simple things in life. Things that I liked, the portability is a huge plus. The grab handle makes it easy for transport. They also updated this one from the previous model where the diesel tank sat on the outside of the box. This one, it is self-contained inside, on top, and it's actually bigger than the previous model at 6 liters. It cost me roughly about $4 to fill up. HCALORY also claims that this heater lasts for 50 hours, so more than enough time for a weekend camping trip or a weekend out in the garage. This unit also comes with an app. Now, the app was super simple to use. I downloaded it, I opened it, made sure Bluetooth is on, I hit connect device. Then from there, it brought this unit up. I clicked on it, and it was an instant snap to where it connected, and I was able to use it through the app. Now, me personally, I hate apps, especially when you pair it with a actual physical hardware device, because apps eventually lose support. As time goes on, apps get less updates, they get forgotten about the developer, and you can potentially be losing functions for the unit you have bought, and you won't have that in the future. And quite frankly, that stuff irritates me. An app should not add any sort of benefit to a physical device. Same thing with my DJI drone. Drives me nuts. I have to use my phone for the actual screen for the device. I don't give a... But that's not to take away from the fact that the app did work. The app was super simple and intuitive to use. The display unit on the front was not so intuitive. How do I describe what intuitive means? It's something that is easy just to use and go. You don't have to read instructions. It's just intuitive to use. Now with this display unit, it was not. You had to click and hold the power button to turn it on, click and hold the power button again to get it into heating mode. And of course, that's just not initially clear. Seems like you should just be able to hit the up and down arrow keys to get it to start kicking out heat. If that's the case and you really need to kick it into heating mode, add another button that says just that. I want to be able to go from one winter to the next, come back to it, and know exactly how to use it without trying to pull the instruction booklet, which was severely lacking in the detail that was needed to figure this out, or go digging through the internet on other people's videos on how to use this unit. I don't like that. It needs to be simple. This is something HCALORY can do better. Heat output. This thing was strong. After a couple of minutes of it being started, it started cranking out significantly good heat. This thing would absolutely be able to heat up a small tent, a garage, no problem. Roughly about the time from when I started it to where it started kicking out the warm heat, roughly about 3 to 5 minutes was probably the spot where I consistently got it kicking on hot air. And of course, fuel efficiency, as I mentioned earlier, it's a 6-liter tank. It goes for 50 hours. That's a lot of time for a standalone heater to be cooking. And things to be thinking about with this unit, it is a diesel-powered heater. That means the exhaust has to be ran outside. And as you guys saw previously, the exhaust and the warm air outlet are on the same side, which I understand that probably what works mechanically with it, but it makes it a little difficult to run because I'm trying to run the tube into the garage and then I gotta bend around the exhaust out the back without just making it unsightly, tedious, tripping hazard, just things to think about. I wish that was a little bit cleaner, but it is what it is. And honestly, I like that this unit comes with everything you need to be able to get it to work out of the box. However, all of the ducting and the tubing are kind of short in the totality of things. I get it. It runs out of the box. That's what they're going for. But in all reality, if you're going to be using this,
you're probably going to need to get longer tubing and slash ducting. There is no clear long-term warranty on this device. Scouring the internet, all I was able to find was a 30-day money-back guarantee. Of course, that's better than nothing. However, going from season to season, that guarantee will not be there. I don't think that this will have issues, but you never know what time will tell. Startup draws power, not a big deal. It runs off of the 12, 24, or the 110 wall outlet. Just make sure you have a solid source. To get it started, it needs that higher voltage to get it going. Once it gets going, it draws a significantly lower amperage and is much nicer on the battery if you're out camping. One more nice thing, the noise level really wasn't that bad for what I was expecting to get from a diesel powered heating unit. It was obviously audible, but I would easily be able to sleep through this if I did take it camping. There is a slight clicking as you hear the fuel pump going. That really was very minor. At the end of the day, this thing is portable, cost efficient, and budget friendly. If you're looking for an affordable way to heat your camping site, your garage, a shed, this is absolutely it. As I am able to get things going around the house because I'm still trying to build that wall, I'm going to mount this up against the wall, run some ducting, the exhaust out of the side of the garage, and be able to heat my garage in the middle of the winter, which I am super excited for. As with anything, nothing is truly perfect. It really depends on what you're looking for versus the price point. And I think this hits it in every positive way. If you're looking for this product, I put a link in the description below in order for an affiliates link that gives a small commission to the channel. This costs you absolutely nothing extra. Just goes to show that you are supporting the content that we make. Also have a 20% discount code for anyone watching this video, as long as they keep it active, JLLifeH20. So guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until the next one, y'all, keep it easy.